Welcome to So Many Receipts. I'm Fleur Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon.
And we are two entertainment journos based in Sydney, Australia, who love to analyse and talk about all things reality, TV and pop culture.
Each week on Receipt Roundup, we bring you our take on what's trending.
This week on the show, we get to meet US Real Housewives royalty, the new villain of Orange County, Vanderpump Rules' Shayna Shay's shocking revelation, and the miscarriage of justice for Kim Kardashian. So we have a real bumper, jam-packed Real Housewives show today, don't we?
Yes, it is very Housewives heavy.
And in my book, that's a good thing.
Yes.
Like, firstly, we had another dream come true this week when we got to meet our first ever US Real Housewives in the flesh, and they had hair higher than our expectations. Superstars Teresa Guidice from the Real Housewives of New Jersey and Whitney Rose from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, two of the stars of the stage show Bring Back My Wives.
So this show also featured some contestants from RuPaul's Drag Race, and it's been touring around Australia. So we saw it at the Enmore Theatre in Sydney on Saturday, and we got to chat to both Teresa and Whitney before the show, which was very exciting. Plus, we also got to speak to Ruelas, Teresa's husband, who was also there.
Yeah, and we got the goss. So I told Whitney that I've always thought that she is one of the prettiest housewives of any franchise, and she was very touched by that. She was much taller than I expected, and she was so sweet, honestly. I asked her if she also appears in the upcoming Below Deck Down Under, and she confirms that, yes, she was also on the trip. She said the cast loved filming with Captain Jason. I mean,
Of
who
course,
wouldn't?
yeah, exactly.
Who wouldn't? And that the eps are a really great crossover for both shows.
So Whitney does this insane number with one of the drag queens. It's kind of like this cabaret show. And they have this face-off, and Whitney does jump splits, which it's a really advanced move. And I saw her clips on Insta, and I told her that her jump splits were Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders level worthy.
They were.
And her face lit up, and she said, "Oh my God, thank you." And Justin Hill, who was the show's MC, was with her, and he was like listening to our conversation, and he was like, "Just wait until you see the show tonight."
And then we met Teresa. She's attractive. I thought her hair looked great. It wasn't as crazy as the wedding photo of her with her hair piled high.
Well, I was surprised. She's really tiny. I thought she would be more imposing, maybe because she has such a big personality, but she was really petite. And she told me that she loved my leopard coat that I was wearing, which I was very excited about. And I told her it was my New Jersey mob wives look, and she laughed. And I've been watching Next Gen New York City, which stars her daughter Gia, and her daughter Gia is best friends with Brooks Marks, and Teresa and Meredith Marks regularly appear on the show. So I asked Teresa if she would consider doing a cameo on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. So she's close friends with Meredith, and now she's done this tour with Whitney, and they're really great friends. So she said she would absolutely love to, and that she's also really good friends with Angie and Heather Gay as well.
Yeah, and then I asked her how Louis was, and she said, "Oh, he's great. In fact, he's standing right over there." And I was like, "Wait, what? What? He's here." So as a bonus, we also got to speak to Louis as well. We asked him if he missed shooting New Jersey, and he just smiled and shook his head and said, "Oh, no. Not at all," which isn't really surprising, seeing how much crap the others have thrown at him over the years.
Yeah, so Louis also gave us the most dramatic moment of the night, because during the show, he was in the aisle filming Teresa right near us, and every time she was on stage, his face just lit up.
Yeah, and there were some people behind us who were being really loud and disruptive.
So rude.
And he wasn't having any of it. He kept telling the guy to keep it down, and they were in each other's faces. A woman sitting near them went and got security, actually, to try and throw this disruptive guy out, but he was allowed to stay. So we've done a TikTok on this, which has gotten thousands of views, and someone who was also there wrote in the comments that she'd heard the guy was part of the production crew.
Yeah, that's weird.
Really? I'm not sure that is right or not. Anyway.
Well, funnily enough, there was this dance competition later on where members of the audience were called to come up on stage, and this loud, disruptive guy was one of the people chosen. So because allegedly the people at the front didn't realize what had gone on in the back, but he was terrible.
Yeah, and at one point there was a lip syncing competition. Teresa and Whitney faced off to Ariana Grande's Break Free.
So I have to say, Whitney is a good housewife. Girlfriend understands the job description, and she is out there working it. I thought she looked amazing. Her body is incredible.
She's
was
so
really
good.
Fit. Yeah. And Teresa made it to the final round of this lip syncing competition, and she was really giving it her all. And she decided to go and leave the stage and go out into the crowd. And I saw the show's promoter panic and run up from the back of the theater and, try and protect Teresa, because the crowd just started surging towards her.
Yeah, but she made it back to the stage unscathed. unscathed and flashed her butt and eventually won the competition.
Yes, I would just say she wasn't technically the best lip syncer, but it just showed that she was the star of that show. And it was amazing to see how much love there is for an OG housewife.
Yeah, and the RuPaul performers were also great as well. And, you know, you have to hand it to Teresa and Whitney. They're good sports.
Absolutely.
It's a thrill for fans to see housewives up close and personal, especially down under. They don't come here very often. So I was really happy we got to meet them.
Yeah,
it was a fun night.
Yeah, definitely. So on to the Real Housewives of Orange County, which returned this week. And all of the women may have new faces, and Tamara even has new teeth, but their beef is old. Last season, it was a pile-on with Shannon, and now I think it's going to be a pile-on with Katie.
So last year, Katie's daughter babysat Emily's kids and shared an anecdote about them saying that Emily said Heather was mean.
Yeah.
And this turned into World War III.
So it got even worse because at the reunion, Emily brought some damning receipts and said that Katie had lost custody of her kids at one point. So Katie explained that she was in a facility and couldn't provide a home for them, so she temporarily lost custody. So my impression was that it was some kind of maybe mental health facility.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was. And after the reunion, Emily's former nanny reached out to Katie and confirmed that she heard Emily say the same comments about Heather, and Katie's daughter had gone on a podcast and the nanny wanted to know how to get in touch with the podcaster, right?
But I don't understand. Why are they calling these podcasters bloggers?
I thought that was really funny as well. Does that make us bloggers?
No.
Like we write things on TikTok on the tiles, but I mean,
no.
Does that make you a blogger these days?
No, bloggers write online. We're podcasters. But I also want to know, why didn't Emily's nanny have to sign an NDA when Emily and Shane are both lawyers and they both star on a reality TV show?
Do they run out of time though?
Is there a time limit on it? I mean, you want an iron.
You want it forever.
NDA.
Don't ever say anything as long as you live. So the other disturbing thing was that Emily wanted all the kids to be off limits, right?
Yes. So I would just say there's also a second Katie leaked stuff to the blogger storyline involving
Oh, that's
Tamara.
right. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, I would just say, Katie, you need to know how to cover your tracks. Have we learned nothing from Monica Garcia from Real Housewives of Salt Lake City? Katie is out of her league. So, yeah.
And then onto that storyline about the son's eating disorder and possibly having autism. She raised that, right? So I really felt for Emily crying about Luke, who has ARFID, which is avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. I can actually relate to this because I have 2 kids with food issues, and it's so upsetting. It makes you feel like such a failure as a mom because you can't feed your kids, which is their most basic need.
Of
so
course.
My daughter will only eat very plain food, only a couple of things, and my son has a low appetite. So this has actually destroyed my love of cooking because there's no enjoyment cooking for people who hate your food.
I can only imagine how stressful that would be.
Yeah.
So Luke is 10 and he's at an age where his friends and the friends' parents would be aware of these issues that are discussed on a popular reality TV show. I just worry about his privacy.
Yeah, that's a good point. So on to our weekly look at And Just Like That, episode 7, called They Just Want to Have Fun. But did they actually have any fun? Kind of didn't look like it to me. Just a reminder, we unpack the main Carrie storyline here on Receipt Roundup and save all of the other bits for our special deep dive podcast, which we jokingly call I Couldn't Help But Wonder. What the hell have they done to this show?
Exactly. So on to Carrie's storyline this week. As I've said before, any AF episode, Aiden-free episode, is an improvement. So last week I had a warning for Carrie. Do not trade first chapters with Downstairs Duncan. I thought she was just going to embarrass herself. Well, guess what? She didn't listen. So now we have Duncan and Carrie's cozy little book club. So I nearly did a spit take when he said the woman wondered what she'd gotten herself into, or he said whatever that sentence was brilliant. I also find it hard to believe that his first chapter about Margaret Thatcher is thrilling. Please. So he also used the word propulsive to describe her writing. Maybe he actually meant repulsive?
Yeah,
I don't get
maybe.
it. But for anyone who is not as literate as Duncan, propulsive means having the quality of driving or pushing forwards.
They could have at least made him sort of confused by some of the lines of her writing.
Yeah.
Something like that. But no, he's suddenly her number one fan and her dinner date every night of the week. Please. He's meant to just be a friend. just a neighbour, not her plus one everywhere. Meanwhile, is she telling Aiden just how much time she's spending with this totally platonic neighbour? Of course not.
Well, I think we need to figure out what Duncan is smoking in that pie, because I don't know what's going on. But they didn't even give each other proper notes. They are writers. That is not a euphemism. I wish it was. But so there's something else that happened in this ep, which I found even more shocking regarding something Carrie says to Anthony.
So basically, Giuseppe's mother, Gia, comes to town, and she's played by the legendary actress Patti LuPone. And Anthony is a nervous wreck. Carrie is throwing a birthday party for Charlotte, and everyone is invited, including Gia.
Yeah, so Anthony tells Carrie, if it comes up, I was never married. And her response is, okay, neither was I. What the actual F? Like, that line was so dismissive of her marriage and relationship with Big. Carrie never talks about being a widow, even though she is rolling in widow money. Is there no respect for the dead?
But maybe it was a joke, but it just kind of fell flat because she's so unfunny now that we can't tell the difference.
Yeah, I thought it was awkward. It was uncomfortable.
Yeah, and then there was also that weird fight that Carrie picked with Miranda after the party. So basically, Miranda sees Carrie flirting with Duncan at this party and makes a little joke about it, and Carrie just snaps at her. I did not like this exchange at all. The old Carrie, I think, would have just rolled her eyes and made a joke, but now she's just a mean girl yelling at a long-suffering friend. I mean, honestly, I feel like saying, take a deep breath, woman. Maybe text your therapist before you start attacking your ride or die.
Yeah, Carrie is such a bitch. And I read a comment where someone said...
You're saying it.
Yeah, Sex and the City Carrie would hate, and just like that Carrie. I think that's totally true. I love the old Carrie with no money. I want the Carrie who bought Vogue instead of food because it fed her more. The Carrie who had a cigarette for breakfast.
And actually, Mia Friedman just wrote an interesting article about Carrie for her Substack where she said that she felt Carrie is depressed.
Yeah.
And she highlighted that numerous people on Reddit said it's like she's a totally different character these days. And I totally agree with this and all of what you said. I feel that the writers made a huge mistake in actually killing off Mr. Big a few episodes into the reboot. They should have just made the characters divorce.
Yeah.
And then she could have had a comic dislike for him from afar, you know, maybe spot him on Raya, dating a 25-year-old roller eyes. Instead, they have immediately shrouded this character in sadness and seriousness and grief. And I feel that this is never entirely lifted from the character. And nowadays she's brittle. She snaps. She's kind of not fun. And meanwhile, all the other characters are the same. We've talked about that before. I think SJP wanted to show us that there were more layers to this character. But what if you don't like the layers?
Yeah, exactly. So this next segment is brought to you by Living a Life of Greatness, Steps to a Fulfilling Existence, the new book by Sarah Grinberg.
This is an insightful, affirming guide to resetting your life and finding purpose, meaning and fulfillment through simple, everyday practices from Sarah, who hosts the internationally successful podcast, A Life of Greatness.
So we spoke to Sarah about all sorts of things, including her top tips, facing fears, and how she reinvented herself after burning out as a top FM radio producer.
Yeah, it was a great chat, and that is now up on the podcast as a deep dive. And if you're after a great pick-me-up, Living a Life of Greatness through Alan and Unwin is out now.
So back to some housewife news. The Real Housewives of Miami, and I have some very exciting news. We have our first Sprinter van fight of the season.
Woohoo!
It's so exciting. Alexia is hosting a goddess party, and the women all gather at the Sprinter van, and everyone's there except Lisa. So there's no message from Lisa. She's running late, and as usual, she won't answer her phone. So they all end up waiting in the Sprinter van for 2.5 hours.
So, you know, it's my personal pet peeve when they harp on a "you're late" storyline, and it happens in every single Housewives show. However, in this case, I'll allow it because 2.5 hours is really effing late.
Well, what I find hard to believe is that these high-maintenance bitches would wait around that long stuck in a claustrophobic van. And Marisol and Larsa said they've been annoyed by Lisa and her lateness for years, but they've never said anything. So Lisa does eventually show up, and she's holding 2 phones, and she swans in with no apology, no explanation. And as soon as Lisa gets in the van, Stephanie calls her out saying, "Lisa, do you think your time is more important than all of ours, or you're more valuable?" I mean, anyone with any shred of self-awareness would profusely apologize. Unfortunately, that person is not Lisa.
And I'm sure they did get catering for that 2.5 hours. But even so, I wanted to know more about Stephanie and found out that she is also copying scrutiny outside the show. So some tea has arisen that back in the day, she was a personal assistant to her husband's then first ex-wife. And whilst Stephanie was working for her, she allegedly had an affair with him. Now, this man's ex-wife and daughters don't speak to him, and they are suing him for taking $6.7 million out of a trust fund he created for them. Yikes.
Interesting. Well, I've done some digging too and found out that Alexia's Instagram guru, Daniel Chadiak, who appears in this episode, he is from Melbourne. And my first red flag was when he was touring the gardens with Alexia and there were mirrors all over with messages written on them. And one mirror had accused on it, and it was spelled ACCUSSED. So the editor in me immediately cringed.
That did make me laugh as well. Accussed.
Accussed.
You are accussed.
It just jumps out at you.
Yes.
So I looked on Amazon because I wanted to see, has this guy written books? And he has, but I think they're all self-published.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
Self-published. Who'd publish this?
And the reviews say there are lots of typos and that the printing quality is really blurry and bad. And his Instagram shows his new book, which was just released a couple of days ago, and there is a typo on the cover.
The cover has a typo?
And it's on his Instagram. So free is spelled FIREE.
Free.
Seriously? So Stephanie went on Watch What Happens Live, and she said when she met him, he had a really weird vibe.
Okay.
So on to our rose and thorns for this week. And my thorn is for a questionable new romance. Erica Jane may have a new boyfriend, and it's not Jesse Solomon from Summer House. She was spotted in LA last week holding hands with John Shrek McPhee. He's not a McPhee, a retired U.S. Special Ops guy who is also Heidi Montag's bodyguard. So he is a decorated military vet and served in Afghanistan and Iraq and is known as the Sheriff of Baghdad.
And he's actually considered to be the U.S.'s most famous war hero, I read. He was also on Joe Rogan's podcast recently, and Joe called him a psycho because he was supposed to be like this killing machine.
Well, imagine being a decorated military hero and then having to be Heidi Montag's bodyguard. So he also appeared on the Megyn Kelly show in May, and he said he's been divorced several times and has 2 adult children. So the pair reportedly met through their love of jiu-jitsu. And Erica is currently filming The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and there's a rumor that John may be joining the show as they're filming right now. However, that's a bit up in the air, as it said producers are a bit on the fence about it as he's a vocal Trump supporter.
Okay, I don't entirely mind this new romance. I think they look good together. He sort of gives off hot old daddy vibes.
Yeah.
Plus, he's age appropriate. He's 55, she's 54. Remember, her ex-husband Tom Girardi is 85. And ex-fling Jesse Solomon is only 32. So she's trying something different this time. It's growth.
Well, she's still married, actually, technically to Tom, despite filing for divorce in 2020. And a hearing took place on June 26th, but no representative for Tom showed up. I want to know what's going on. He's under a conservatorship, so where was his rep? And Tom is actually supposed to start serving his prison sentence for embezzlement this week. And meanwhile, John also filed for divorce from his wife, Jennifer Blanton, in February in North Carolina, where he's based. But they're actually no longer legally married, but they are due back in court later this month. So she claims John earns at least $17,000 per month, and she wants some spousal support.
Okay.
So I say there is no way this is going to last. First of all, as we all know, it's expensive to be Erica Jane, and this guy isn't mega rich. And second of all, he wears Crocs. Deal breaker right there.
Oh, some Crocs are fashionable though now.
Okay, you're on crack. There are no Crocs that are fashionable.
I don't think it will last either, but I do want to see him on Real Housewives. Imagine the confessionals.
Yeah.
This guy's also a YouTube and social media star, and I've watched his podcasts and reels. He does have a bit of a scary edge. He's quite a real sort of alpha male, a real he-man. I can see why Erica likes him. He's a tough guy like Tom in the old days, and he's got a son in the army. Her son's a cop, but it won't last.
No.
They're both too famous in their own way, probably too self-absorbed, and their lives will be a clash. So that will be that. Anywho, speaking of self-absorbed, this week Jax Taylor finally announced that he is leaving the Valley, which we will unpack next week after the finale. But it's already being rumoured that Shayna Shea from Vanderpump Rules and her husband Brock Davies might fill the gap by joining the Valley, and that Shayna is bringing in this ready-made storyline of her marriage woes.
So I just have to say, thank God Jax is leaving, and I have a feeling feeling that producers strongly encouraged him to take a break. I really don't think this was his idea.
Yes. So what is all this marriage drama about? Well, Brock has just been exposed in Shayna's upcoming memoir, My Good Side, for cheating on her while she was pregnant with their daughter Summer Moon. So that's my thorn this week. Shayna reveals Brock admitted to the affair around the time he was rumoured to be hooking up with their former co-star Raquel Leviss in 2023. So given Shayna's over-the-top reactions to Scandival, this all now makes much more sense to me because she was absolutely furious with Tom Sandoval when it came out that he'd been having this affair with Raquel. Shayna was constantly crying. She was raging, devastated. At the time, I thought it felt strangely personal. I didn't quite get it. And now we know why. She was clearly triggered, having gone through something similar herself, but she kept it off camera for her book.
But so did she ever confront Raquel about Tom and the affair?
I was trying to think of that. I don't think she did because I don't remember them letting Raquel film with many people after it came out because they were so angry with her. Obviously, Shayna, just as livid as anyone else. Whether Raquel was the unnamed woman Brock cheated with is unclear, but the timing is quite suspicious.
Yeah, well, let's not forget Shayna's own history isn't exactly squeaky clean. She once had an affair with Eddie Cibrian while he was married to Brandi Glanville, so it's just messy all around.
Yeah, and as for Brock, he has always seemed a little shady. He's a former personal trainer and rugby player from New Zealand who moved to Australia and then the US. He has 2 children in Australia from a previous relationship, but he hasn't seen them in years. No one knows exactly why. Major red flag. Plus, I have to also point out that his 2 older kids, their names are Eli and Winter, and his daughter with Shayna is called Summer.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I just can't with these celebrity names. Imagine having a kid, one's winter, one's summer.
Oh, God.
Oh, dear.
So you just need 2 more and you'll have all the seasons.
Yes, well, autumn you could have. I don't know anyone called spring.
Yeah.
I do know some autumns.
Oh, God. So another thorn for me this week with Botched Presents Plastic Surgery Rewind. This is a new show on Hayu hosted by Michelle Visage from RuPaul's Drag Race, and it features Dr. Terry Dubrow from Botched, who's also married to Heather Dubrow from The Real Housewives of Orange County. So this show features 9 celebrities who are considering reversing their plastic surgeries for a more natural appearance. So I would say it's 9 people with body dysmorphia wanting a payday and even more attention.
Right. So do they actually perform operations or do they just talk people out of operations?
Well, so just at the beginning, these are people who want to go back to their former selves and undo the over-the-top procedures they've had done. So it's a process, and they have a therapist on the show as well, Dr. Spirit.
What?
The doctor's name is Dr. Spirit. Very credible. But in the first episode, we meet this woman, Larissa, who is from Brazil.
Oh, yeah. And Larissa was one of the craziest people ever to appear on 90 Day Fiancé. I thought she was actually great TV. So she was married to this American guy, Colt, who then she left for this guy, Eric, and then she married someone else called Zachy last year, but she's now getting divorced from him.
Yeah. Well, now she's talking about this bad boyfriend that she has really toxic. So she must have moved on from Zachy as well.
Oh, so she's moved on from him already.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's also a guy called Alan McGarry, who is an Irish content creator and TV personality. He looks like a cartoon character come to life. Oh. And then, of course, we also have Kim Zolciak and her daughter Brielle, who is 28.
Oh, my God. Kim Zolciak, ex-Real Housewife of Atlanta, on yet another show.
She's like whack-a-mole. She's everywhere.
The world is running out of shows for this woman.
I know. She is everywhere. So she was on Kristen Cavallari's show, Next Gen New York City, and now this Rewind show. So girlfriend is working hard for the money. Kim has lost weight, allegedly because of her stressful divorce, and it's caused the skin under her arms to sag. So she wants to fix the bad, cool sculpting on her bingo wings. And she also wants her neck pulled tighter.
Are we kind of thinking bad Ozempic kind of like, side effects?
I didn't want to Ozempic shame someone, but I think that might be part of the problem as well.
So why is Brielle there? She's young. She needs plastic surgery?
Well, I think so. It says she's getting ready for her wedding. And I think Brielle was actually blindsided. She has no idea why she's on on the show. In the first episode, I feel like she just thought she was going on a spa trip with Kim. And when she got there, producer said, find something, anything to be on this show. So she claims she wants to get her under eye filler dissolved because it makes her look older.
Oh.
Girl, don't waste our time. So Kim is basically on this show for free plastic surgery, and they call her out on that. And basically, she just wants to cash her check and Brielle's check because we know she takes the money her children make as well.
Oh.
So if anything, I think Kim needs to rewind her terrible nose job. And so this Irish guy also, he just got a Brazilian butt lift, and he's now really self-conscious because people stare at his butt and not his face. And Larissa has the most ginormous boobs, and she wonders why people assume she's a stripper. What did these people think would happen?
So she wants to downsize her boobs?
She wants to be taken seriously.
So Colt clearly paid too much money for too much plastic surgery when they were married.
Well, I will just say, this is what happens when you follow trends. Everyone wanted to be a Kardashian. Now everyone wants to be Hailey Bieber. Mm-hmm. And I actually just read an article about this in the Wall Street Journal. I'm not kidding. I do read the Wall Street Journal. And instead of huge boobs and butts, it is now the opposite. It's all about the ballerina boob job, a.k.a. the perky B cup, and being long and lean.
I am pretty sure Nicole Kidman and Kate Hudson both got one of those years ago.
Yeah, and they look fantastic. So I don't know if I'm going to keep watching this one because I feel like these people actually need to spend their money on therapy and not more procedures.
That's right. So speaking of Kardashians, my rose this week is for the gripping new doco on 10 Play, The Kim Kardashian Diamond Heist. It covers the 2016 shocking robbery in Paris where Kim was tied up at gunpoint in her hotel room and robbed of $13 million worth of jewelry. 8 people were recently found guilty, though the outcome is infuriating. And firstly, I have to ask Shell, are you a Kim Kardashian fan?
So I actually looked back and I realized I first met her in 2007 when I was working at Hollywood Life in LA, and she presented an award at one of our events. And I remember saying at the time, why is Kim presenting an award? She's just Paris Hilton's closet organizer and she has a sex tape. Uh-huh. And someone said, well, Ryan Seacrest is doing this new show. You know, it's a reality show starring the entire family, keeping up with the Kardashians. Hello.
Okay. So are you a fan of hers?
I don't know.
You like her vibe? You're not sure? Okay. Well, I wanted to ask because I do know she's polarizing, but you see, I personally love her. And yeah, she's done some questionable things in the past, but haven't we all? I mean, I feel that now at 44, she's actually fairly admirable because she's built a $1 billion brand in Skims, which is a phenomenal business. Yeah. She's completed a law degree in her spare time. She's starring in this new legal drama, All's Fair. I've actually seen the trailer. She's surprisingly good. She can act. Plus, she's managing to co-parent with Kanye West, which must be so stressful given that he is utterly insane.
Yeah.
But after watching this doco, I honestly don't know how she even gets out of bed every day. What happened to her is utterly terrifying.
Yeah, so back in 2016, Kim was in Paris for Fashion Week and posted photos of her jewelry on social media. And a gang tracked her down and forced the hotel concierge at gunpoint to open her room. So I'd heard about the robbery, but I didn't realize the details were so horrifying.
Me neither. So they took the jewelry, which bizarrely was not in a safe. Don't know why. Then zip-tied Kim, gagged her and dragged her into the bathroom, dumping her in the tub. That basically means you're either going to get drowned in the tub or stabbed to death. Is probably less messy than a bed. Kim later said she truly thought she was going to die. She said goodbye to her kids in her head and begged the men to spare her life. Then the gang fled on bicycles and kept dropping the jewel bag because it was so heavy, and then they couldn't find a buyer for the jewels. Anyway, it took police 2 years to catch them, and the trial just concluded 2 months ago, 9 years later.
I couldn't believe how old some of these thieves were, and I wondered, why did it take so long for this to go through the courts?
Well, basically it was delayed for years due to COVID, so that was the big reason, and 8 were found guilty, but most served little to no jail time. Some had been in jail a little while and just got time served in lieu, and that was it. And some of these men are now in their 70s and they were let go because authorities said they're now too old for jail. Excuse me, what? This is an utter joke.
It's crazy.
One even wrote a book called How I Robbed Kim Kardashian and appeared laughing on French talk shows. I mean, whether you like her or not, that is utterly disgusting, appalling. Kim has to live with that trauma daily while these men walk free. What a miscarriage of justice.
Yeah, I agree. I do wonder if she got an insurance payout.
Yeah, maybe.
Story. But I did find it weird that she wore a huge diamond necklace and earrings to the trial after going on Ellen and saying material things didn't matter to her anymore. And were any of her regular jewels that were stolen recovered?
No. Well, most of the jewels weren't ever recovered. So that means they probably did get the money from the sale. And yeah, I don't know why she wore those jewels to the trial. I mean, that's
kind of ironic.
Very ironic, iconic Kim Kardashian. Maybe they were cubic zirconias or something just to be on the safe side. I mean, look, in all seriousness, Tom Girardi, Erica Jane's ex-husband, he has been sentenced to jail for embezzlement and he's 85. So why can't they throw these old French cretins in jail as well?
Yeah, agree. So that's it for this week. Thanks for listening.
I'm Fleur Michelle.
And I'm Shelley Seddon. Join us next week for So Many Receipts.